Welcome to 15 And, where we grow through the transformative stories and principles from the Bible. I hope you enjoy this teaching. I hope you share it with others. And I hope you go to 15and.org, click the Donate Now button, and support this mission.
We are kicking off a very different series today. And, 15 years of pastoring, a couple years of doing this. I've taught a lot of series. This might be my most ambitious one yet. There's a lot that I really want to get accurate out of the gate. And so we're setting the groundwork today. We're kicking off Dirt, Rethinking Evil. Dirt, Rethinking Evil. And today I just want to talk to you about the reality of dirt. And I'll give you the overall punchline now, and then we're going to start laying the groundwork that leading and living our lives is a lot like tending a house. And it's our job to clean the house, guard its boundaries, and extend the house. You can think about it more like healthy caretaking, housekeeping than a cosmic boxing match. That evil is not an equal opposite force to God, but a polluting intruder like dirt that doesn't belong in the house. I grew up in Christianity in the 80s, born in 77, and I still remember being at a dude's house that had a big giant stereo that was super proud to play for us. Very loud, very proud. If you grew up in this era, you're going to know it. Carmen's The Champion. Now, if you were in church at that era, at that time, you also now can imagine your youth group friends acting it out on stage. and it was dramatic, exciting. My little worldview at that time, I was like, I got chills. I felt God in this weird dude's house with the big stereo. and it feeds into this idea that evil is an equal opposite to God. That there's this cosmic dualism. It's light side versus dark side. And that is nowhere near what we see in the biblical truth. Today, what I'm going to do is give you an overview and give you one story to illustrate what I'm saying. Don't believe me, check it out. But then through the rest of this series, we're going to be moving really from like Leviticus to the New Testament so that we see evil in a way that we may have never seen it before. Satan's not an evil anti-God, but a fallen finite creature, not a true rival. Now, we also have people that think about evil not as an equal opposite to God, but like as a horror movie spectacle. So you see all the occultism and stuff of dramatic horror scenes. I mean, that is Hollywood. And the same thing that people, I don't freak out over this when a music artist, I don't love it, I don't like it, it's not something I like to view or partake in, but when a music artist builds in hardcore, extreme, occultic imagery and themes into their music video or whatever, they're doing it for one reason, to create buzz. So when you get mad and you talk about it, that's exactly what they want. And we're going to see this, that evil doesn't have to be made up out of this spectacle. Supernatural shock, grotesque villains, whatever. I mean, it emphasizes that evil is out there. And it's why self-righteousness is so insidious, because we miss the corrosive dirt in our own house. I think you can see this in pop spirituality. People think about evil as an impersonal force balanced by good karma. And I see Christians fall into these like weird superstitions. Like, if I give you $100, I'm going to get that handkerchief that you've prayed over and blessed. If I give you $500, I'm going to get holy water from the Holy Land that you prayed over. And what we do when we do that, and this is what's so dangerous about it, is we think about evil as something that can be magically kept at bay. It's out there, it's out there, it's out there. Which is why it was so powerful when Jesus said, It's not out there that makes you clean. It's what comes out of you, makes you unclean. I think that I've seen, obviously, people demonize other groups so strongly that they're the evil one. Again, it's out there, blinding us to our dirt. People think evil is obvious. I mean, when people around me that I care about are really upset about some kind of excessive external display of like occultic evil, I'm just always going, hey, don't forget 2 Corinthians 11:14, that Satan can masquerade as an angel of light. Like, this is what Mel Gibson did that was so brilliant in The Passion of Christ. If you remember, there's the one scene where he's implying it's the devil. It's this androgynous human holding a baby. It's less than real. It seems subreal. And it's just holding this baby, and it's this alluring quality. And it's a baby. And then the baby turns around, it's like 40 years old and ugly. If you don't remember that scene, it's creepy as can be. And it's a wonderful illustration of this idea that the devil masquerades as an angel of light. Now, as we embark on this series, for some of you, based on whatever experiences you've had, you might be in a place where you're like, I don't know, man. Like, can we make too much about evil? I mean, there's a part of me that's like, Jesus wins, Jesus defeats. Let's just do a series on Jesus because Jesus beats all evil anyway. The Bible clearly says, though, for us to be aware and sober-minded of how the enemy would work, how deception works, how we lose the mind of Christ, how evil has an influence over us. And I was talking to someone who had a really powerful experience, and I don't mean it positively, with evil over a 10-year period in their life. Actually wrestling demons in their sleep, stuff that may not fit in your worldview. And in their worldview, it did make sense. And they had really formed an addiction to quiet the battles with demons through abuse. There was dreams of demons, and the deal was just made. I'll go to bed drunk every night if you leave me alone. And then when he was seeking to stop the addiction and cleanse and purge that from his life, there was this ferocious battle taking place. And it was real and it was visceral. And for him, and he just said this, it's not hard for me to believe in good because I've experienced the evil. So there's not a nearly all-powerful devil to be feared, nor is it a caricature of evil. The cosmic combat mentality is not where we live. We don't have to live in fear and fatalism. The pastor or the business leader that attributes every setback, every shortfall, every business loss, every conflict to a demonic attack. That's not what the Bible would say. There's a comedian right now, John Crist. He talks about his aunt. I don't remember the name. He's like, Aunt Edna's driving by Krispy Kreme and going, "The devil almost got me, John. The hot sign now was on." And he was like, "Yeah, Aunt Edna, the devil's like, I can wage war, I can cause people to starve, I can cause all this suffering, but I'm going to get Aunt Edna to eat some Krispy Kreme." So that's not where we have to live with this, that there's a demon under every bush. We also don't have to live in a place of like fear-based control systems. Because if we believe evil is an equal force, then I've seen a lot of leaders fight it with extreme top-down control. They're going to get me. I mean, that's ultimately what it's about. They're afraid that people are going to have power over them, but they put it in spiritual language like the devil's going to get a foothold. I've seen it in leaders, ministry, and in business. There's a part of this that we have to understand. Our mind can confuse us. There was a group of people, the Hmong people, in the late 70s, early 80s. And in their worldview, they could be killed by a demon in their sleep. And I can't remember the full basis of the story now, but it was a perfect example of nocebo, placebo positive, nocebo negative, where they weren't fulfilling some kind of spiritual practice that they were supposed to be fulfilling based on moving here, because it was a lot of them in California. And they were convinced then that this demon would kill them in their sleep. There were 117 cases by 1988, literally dying because they had, in their minds, created this mass hysteria, where a malignant arrhythmia could be triggered or worsened by an intense state of stress. This story is actually what helped inspire A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, it's not like it's in the 80s and not happening now. Any of you paying attention last week, Rapture Talk, holy moly. People, I don't know if they really did it or they're trying to get views, selling their cars, selling their houses, you know. And somebody was like, well, why you got to sell your house if you think the rapture's happening? It doesn't even matter, you know. You think the cash is going to matter? I saw some footage of a large group of people gathering in the woods, you know, just convinced it's going to happen. So I think if we don't do this work, we're going to not know how to walk through the moments in our lives and the moments we are in a place of leadership with others. We're going to fall into the trap that I see so much of politics falling into, scapegoating. They're the evil ones. They're the evil ones. And we're going to start thinking about the Bible and evil as this battle between good and evil. And Jesus in Luke 10:18 said this. The disciples come back. They're fired up. They're like, man, the stuff we're doing works. Hey, don't rejoice in the fact that you can do these miracles. Your name's in the book of life. Your identity's transformed. And Jesus said this, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Now, there's a lot of ways that was interpreted throughout church history, but the basic idea is this. Evil is done. It's doomed. It's a less than. And so you see this in the biblical record. Satan's asking permission to test Job. You see over and over and over this moment where in the New Testament, the writers are saying evil's been defeated, but it's still real and it's still here. It's a distortion of the good. It's a parasitic, and we'll see that. I like how John says it in 1 John 3:4, everyone who sins breaks the law. In fact, sin is lawlessness. Sin is disorder. Sin is a breaking of the good. James contradicts two types of wisdom. He says, where you have, James 3:16, where you have envy and selfish ambition, you have disorder and every evil practice. It's not about the occult. It's not about this cosmic battle. It's about this dirt of envy, this dirt of selfish ambition. Jesus' ministry says he came to Luke, 3:18, we've read that many times, to restore the year of the Lord's favor. How did he talk about that? I'm cleansing, I'm restoring. He's casting out impure spirits. So there is a different way of thinking about evil than I think most of us have thought about it. And I want us to look at 2 Chronicles 29 to get familiar with this model of what I want to present to you. Because we're going to look at all the passages. We're going to look at Ephesians, how Paul talks about principalities and evil. But I was in a place where I grew up where I only thought about evil as this cosmic battle between good and evil. And come to find out, it's not what I see over and over in the Bible. So 2 Chronicles 29, we'll look at verse 3 first. In the first month, the first year of his reign, we're talking about Hezekiah, he opened the doors of the temple of the Lord and repaired them. He brought in the priests and the Levites, assembled them in the square on the east side, and said, listen to me, Levites, consecrate yourselves now, cleanse yourselves, and consecrate the temple of the Lord, the God of your ancestors. Remove all defilement from the sanctuary. Now, I am giving you a model that I want you to test out. I don't want you just to believe me. This model is what we're going to look at through this series. That evil's not a battle, that evil isn't something that just battles with good. Evil is dirt we address. And we're going to look at demonic exchanges. We're going to unpack all that, but we're just looking at the big idea right now. And the beginning of understanding this model is clean with truth. Clean with truth. You clean the house with truth. This is exactly what Hezekiah is doing here. 2 Chronicles 29, the rest of it, they actually do the work and cleanse the temple according to what God has asked them to do. Now, the second part, and this is so wild once you start to see the pattern. Look at 29, 25 through 26. So just scroll down, move over. He stationed the Levites in the temple of the Lord with cymbals, harps, and lyres in the way that was prescribed by David, Gad the king's seer, Nathan the prophet. This was commanded by the Lord through his prophets. So the Levites stood ready with David's instruments and the priests with their temples. So here's what I want you to see that he does. He cleans the house, and then he starts to put it in order. He's establishing systems that protect holiness. Holiness is a huge word. We're going to unpack it a lot through this series. If you look further in chapter 31, he sets up storehouses so there's enough supplies. He names overseers and actually puts an accountable org chart in place. What the heck? So he's cleansing it with truth. Let me offer it to you this way. Then he's putting in systems and org charts. He's guarding it with wisdom. He's cleansing it with truth. He's guarding it with wisdom. And then this is really cool. Let's go to chapter 30, verse 1. Hezekiah sent word to all Israel and Judah, and also wrote letters to Ephraim and Manasseh. Here's the big thing: inviting them to come to the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem and celebrate the Passover to the Lord, the God of Israel. Guys, the paradigm I want to train you in, the paradigm I want to teach you, I'm going to show you how it's in John also later in this series. It's biblical, it's elegant, it's simple, and it rocks my world over and over and over. It was over a decade ago I read a book called Cleansing the Cosmos by E. Janet Warren. She's a self-trained theologian, medical trained doctor. I think she has an MD. And she wrote a book called Cleansing the Cosmos. Cleansing the Cosmos was the inception point for me of this series. And I think it was like a decade ago. And she's walking through the biblical record to help you understand over and over and over again, this is the pattern God's training us in how to interact with evil. Now, she doesn't actually use the phrase clean, guard, extend. That's where I'm trying to take her work and simplifying it a little bit. I am drawing from her more practical work called Holy Housekeeping by E. Janet Warren. What has happened in today's world is we see a demon behind every bush. We've totally created fanciful notions of what evil is like. We see it as a cosmic battle. We don't understand how to apply what Scripture gives us to actually live out this model. And what Hezekiah does is, listen, he cleans with truth, he guards with wisdom, and he extends with unity. He invites Ephraim and Manasseh. You guys, come on. I want you to think about understanding evil. You are a house. What you lead is a house. Sight Shift is a house. My family is a house. It's my job to clean the house. So we start with truth, and I have to live that out. And there are times I don't want to tell the truth. I want to lie. I feel insecure. And I'm not saying we're jerks with the truth. I went through a phase in college where I said to my friends, I'm not going to pull any punches. Whatever the truth is, I'm going to give you the full truth. And they called that the jerk phase, because I don't have to say it all to live in truth. It's kindness. It's being gracious. But everything about counteracting evil starts with living in truth. We clean the house with truth, and we keep it clean with truth. And you and I both know some houses are filthy and messy, and it's going to take a lot of work to clean up their lives. And some, because they've been keeping it pretty clean, they don't have to go through all that pain. But just because it's clean doesn't mean you can't guard it. That we have to guard it. That there are some doors that we need to check at night and lock them. We guard it with wisdom. We start with truth. Truth is, there's a reality. There is a black and white binary. There is a right and wrong, but we have to guard the house with wisdom as we think through, how do we protect this? How do we establish this? Hey, we need to close that window. We got to keep this safe. Hey, we need to open the window. Let's let some air in here and get some fresh air. The Holy Spirit needs to blow through here. This is a very powerful metaphor that I think helps you synthesize all of Scripture and understanding evil, because after we've cleaned with truth, we guard with wisdom. We extend with unity. I mean, the model for most housing throughout human history is we add another room on. Our family is growing. We're extending. It's exactly what Hezekiah is doing. He cleans the temple, he orders it and guards it with systems, and then he's inviting the others to come be a part of it. And so if you want to be at a place that you enjoy a lifelong adult relationship with your kids and then your grandkids, and there's a legacy there, if you want to have a business that's able to give you life in a vibrant, consistent way, if you want to have a team community that's very healthy, what are you going to do? You're going to clean it with truth, you guard it with wisdom, and you extend it with unity. Now, I wasn't trying to force this. What was wild for me is I've been on this journey the last few years working on our culture model. If you're familiar with that, you can go back to the Building Everlasting Cultures series. It maps completely onto that. We clean with truth, and we communicate that. And we guard with wisdom, and we make changes based on the truth. And we extend with unity. We deepen connection. This pattern is all over. I'm going to show you to you in multiple ways. I'm starting with the Old Testament because I wanted to start to build this up for you. But now let me give you a little view of history. Augustine of Hippo in the 4th century said this: evil is finally a hopeless parasite. It does not exist in its own right, but only as a corruption of something good. It's not a co-equal force. The only way that you can start to make sense of the biblical record is to see it's not something to be afraid of. It's not something to be caricatured, but it's also not something to be brushed off. C.S. Lewis said it this way: goodness is, so to speak, itself. Badness or evil is only spoiled goodness. Evil is a parasite, not an original. This is why his work was so powerful, that lust is just a corruption of love. Greed is a distortion of wanting to provide for your family. Everything in you that gets you in trouble, underneath that is something really good. I hear people talk about the devil sometimes, or evil, or the enemy, and I'm like, you understand, if Jesus is the most real reality, it can't be the same level. It has to be a lesser form of reality. This is why J.R. Tolkien in his work, Lord of the Rings, he portrayed evil as incapable of genuine creativity. The Dark Lord Sauron cannot create life. He could only corrupt beings from previously created life. Only God can speak life. The evil distorts. The right metaphor will retrain our instincts with evil. We don't freak out. We don't freeze up. We know how to square up with it. We see it coming and we know what to do. And so I've trained my mind and heart over the years to watch for truth with a vigilance, not in an anxious way, not in an insecure way, but in a way of trying to make sense of things. Because when I read the Gospels, and we're going to go deep into this, it's all about this shift between clean and unclean. How do I stay on the lookout for the way that things that are unclean defile me? And it's completely different than the way that our fathers would have thought of defilement. In the worldview they lived in, it was a self-righteous external. You don't surface out your insecurities or struggles with honesty. You tuck them away, only to have them grow and get worse and to form into more evil things. When you have a model for something, like this model can be for you, you can figure out where you are and what to do next. I've personally walked through crises with other people and in my own world. What's the truth? What's the wisdom? How do we deepen relationship? What's the truth? How do we clean this situation out? Not violently, not in meanness, not in a force that is destroying, but let's do it with love. How do we put wisdom in place? And how do we deepen the relationship? It's guided me through the worst kinds of crises. I've shared this with you before. I'm very public with my own struggles. I'm definitely going to stop saying I feel like I've been humiliated so much I don't know if I can be, because I got a new round of that going on. But I've shared a lot of my vulnerabilities with you. But the worst of the worst, I haven't. It's too private for the people I'm closest to. And I am telling you, the things that have saved me in those moments is knowing my identity and knowing how to build a healthy culture and knowing how to get it back on track. Clean, guard, extend the house. When you can make sense of something with a model or a metaphor, the right metaphor, and you see it as dirt, and you apply this framework, you really have meaning. You understand it's going to be a moment before we get out of the cleaning and the truth phase, because that's some gross work. And then it feels good. It feels good to start putting things in place and get the furniture in place and order it, and it's nice. And then you go to bed and you don't worry about it anymore. No, you stay vigilant. So, wherever you find yourself on this journey, we're not going to pursue purity as perfectionism, but as alignment with the reality, the truth. And like the disciples, we're going to have to learn to let Jesus wash the dirt off our feet. Because it's the dirt that collects on us, that we start to lead in ways that show our insecurities. Over and over, and I'm checking my motive, not in a navel-gazing way, but why am I here and why am I doing this? We're going to guard through paying attention and setting boundaries. And when I use the word boundaries, there's a yuckness to that word now, because I think there's so much that happens with a dead end of therapy. And it means, I can't listen to you. I have boundaries. I have to drop you as a friend because you believe things I don't agree with. No, boundaries mean there's something here, but it can be permeable if it needs to. I'm going to listen. I'm going to learn. I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to upgrade. I'm going to hear people out. I'm going to have my own strength of worldview or perception or position. But I am going to pay attention. And I'm not going to be, like the Bible says, unaware. I'm going to be sober and vigilant, paying attention. And I'm going to guard the house with wisdom. Which battles to fight, which to let go. We went so deep in this idea where Jesus said, be cunning as a serpent and harmless as a dove. So I'm going to know the enemy's playbook, but I'm not going to be obsessed with it. And then I'm going to extend this holy space God gives me. I don't know where this will land with you today. And the goal here was just to introduce it. But I know in my own life, it seems like in very pressing ways, more and more, I'm just paying attention to places that I might need to get the broom out. I mean, it's wild to me. We'll eat dinner a few nights and you sweep up and you're like, how are there this many crumbs? It happens so easy and so quick. Where's a place we need to get the broom out? Where's a place we need to guard? Where's a place we need to extend?
I hope you enjoyed this teaching from 15 And. Go to 15and.org, share these resources with others, and click the Donate Now button to participate in funding this mission.